Hello everybody, this is Princess. I just want to go and do a little ex-boyfriend party line, ex-boyfriends exposure. Okay, let's start with the first guy on the party line that I remember dating. Viper, aka D. Ray William. I met him on Quest Chat. We met each other at least once we started dating. Well, he tells me to call his line, but then he tells me not to tell people that we're dating because it would stop the women from coming online and flirting with him. And so I kind of believed it. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's a good thing that women come online, because the more women you have on the line, the more men you can get on your line to talk to those women. And so, I believed it. I was like, okay, that's cool. Well, he ended up cheating on me with two other girls that I know of. One of them was Stephanie from Tennessee. The other one lived about 30 minutes from him. He lived about 45 minutes from me. So that's why me and him got to see each other. But the girl that he was talking to lived about, I think it was 20, maybe 30 minutes from him. But he saw her all the time. And I didn't know about it until one day they're going up in the private room. They're sitting in there. They're laughing. They're giggling. He makes her moderator on the line. And he never asked me. And I was supposed to be his girlfriend. When I asked him, his response was, oh, she's my friend. I just thought I'd let her be the moderator. And then it was like a couple days later, him and her are doing all this stuff together and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so, yeah, I just wanted to expose him, let you know that if you talk to Viper, not the gay one, the straight one, he's from Fuquay, North Carolina. And he's also known as D or D. Ray Williams. He is a liar, a cheater, and he tries to pretty much control women. So, yeah. Just thought I'd let you girls know, watch out for him. Let's see, another party line guy I dated was Harrison. Now, Harrison was a sweet guy. I love Harrison. The only thing about Harrison that really, really irked my nerves was when I went to Harrison's house the first time. I found out that his real name was not Harrison. He did not tell me that his name was anything different. I went to his house and found out his name was not Harrison. And I'm not going to say his name out here because me and Harrison, we're good friends. And, Harrison really didn't do too much damage except for lie to me about his name, which he told me why he did it. He told me that he was kind of scared to tell me because he didn't know if I would change my mind about going to see him. Then he also lied to me about his age. He told me why he lied to me about his age is because he was scared that I would not want to date an older man. He told me he was 36. And, of course, anybody that knows me knows that I am 27 years old. Okay? And, yes, I live with my parents. I'm living with my parents because, I got back here because my dad was sick. He had cancer, and I came back here to help my parents out and everything, which I'm about to move back out, but I'll get to that later. Let's see, Harrison, pretty much the only thing that I didn't like about Harrison was the fact that he lied to me about his name and his age, but everything else about Harrison was great. He never cheated on me. Harrison was a pretty good guy. He was really sweet to me. He treated me like a princess. And ladies, I don't know if all of you like it, but he was a freak in bed. Oh yeah, I loved it. Um, okay, the next guy was Ronnie Smith. Um, he also went by something else. I'm trying to think of what it was. I don't remember what name he went by on the chat line, but he did go by something. But anyway, Ronnie Smith, you can find him on Facebook. He's from Carthage, Texas. He went by Chaperone. That's what it was. He went by Chaperone. He's from Carthage, Texas. When I met him on Spanky's World, I started asking him the pretty typical questions that you would ask somebody that you're trying to talk to or get to know better. So I asked him what was his name. He told me Ronald, aka Ronnie. Then I asked him what was his last name. He told me it wasn't Smith. It was something else, which I really don't remember what it is right now. But, he told me that he was on probation and everything for something that he didn't do. And he told me that he would get back in touch with me about what he did later on. Well, then I hear from one of his exes that he got in trouble for messing around with an underage kid. I go and I ask him, because I wanted to hear it come out of his mouth to see if he was going to lie or not. And he did not lie to me. He actually told me, but the story that he told me sounded a little fishy. He told this girl the same thing, though. He told her the exact same thing. He told her that pretty much the young girl, he met her at Walmart, and he brought her back home. After a couple days, he slept with her. Come to find out, she was actually underage. He didn't know it. The girl went and told him she was older than what she was. And supposedly she also had a fake ID. I don't think I believe that, but at that point in time, I'm just kind of like, alright, whatever, whatever you say, I'm going to trust you on this, is what I told him. I told him that I still couldn't believe that he did that to an underage kid. He said that he was never going to do it again, blah, 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 which I've heard that plenty of times. But, I'm just kind of like, alright, people can change, people mess up. It's not like we're perfect. But, I'm just kind of, alright, cool, I believe you unless otherwise. If you make me not believe you, I won't believe you. But he told me that he owned his own business. He had a daughter. He never was married. He had a nice house. And just so everybody knows, I do not date people for money, for, any material thing. I don't date them for that. I have my own money. I'm not worried about yours, just so you know. But he's telling me he owned his own business and all this stuff, and he wanted me to come to his house. Well, about a week before I went to his house, because he knew what day I was coming to his house. He knew that I was going to his house on the 1st of the month. And so what happened was about a week before I went there, this is the story that he come up with. He came up with his house burnt down, that his ex got mad at him for something and burnt his house down, and that the cops were kind of like going back and forth between them two. Okay, well, I wasn't. He was saying that the cops were trying to find evidence to convict her, but he was saying he knew it was her. And I was like, well, if you know it's her, then she should be in jail. But yeah, anyway, I just kind of let it go. Then, a couple days later, he said something about the so-called daughter he had was with his grandmother, supposedly. They went out for a car ride. Now, I don't remember where they were going, But all I know, they went out for a car ride. They got into an accident. The daughter died on impact, is what he told me. Now, me, I love children. And for anybody that knows me on the party lines, knows how much I love kids. And how much I adore children, all this stuff. Well, when he told me that his little girl died, the first thing I did was cry. I didn't even know him. I didn't know the little girl that he said was his. I didn't know any of that. But I cried. My mom even cried. I told her, she was all sad and she cried, and she told me to tell him she was sorry. I did. Well, I get to his house. He told me before I got there that he was living in a trailer that needed to be fixed up. He did not tell me that the trailer was in as rough shape as it was. Let me just tell you, I get to Carthage. He was not there to pick me up. He told me that he was going to get the lady that lived with him to go get me. I was there with this girl that got off in Carthage with me. We sat out there, me and that girl both sat out there for like 2 hours, maybe 3 to be exact. I know it was a long time. Me and her sitting out there calling everybody that we know to call. She's calling her daddy, her grandma, her mama. She called her mama. Her mama did not live in Carthage. Her mama lived somewhere else. But she called her mama, and she told her mama to get in touch with somebody to tell them to come get her and everything. So she's calling everybody. Well, finally, her daddy calls her back. No. Excuse me. Her grandpa calls back on my phone, because her phone, she left it with her boyfriend. And her boyfriend lived around there, but the phone was cut off because it didn't have minutes on it. So, her grandpa calls my phone, gets in touch with her. He said he was on his way to pick her up. Was, right before he hung up, she said, "Grandpa, can you take this girl that's sitting here with me, that's letting me use her phone, can you take her to where she needs to go?" And so he asked where did I need to go, and she told him that I needed to go to Carthage and everything. Well, said what part, and so I'm in the middle of trying to tell him some part off of such and such road, because that's all Ronnie told me was like the road name. He told me that he guessed he could take me. I told him that I needed to stop also, if he didn't mind, and get something to eat and drink and stuff for us, because Ronnie asked me would I do it before I got there. So I said yeah. Well, anyway, I get to Ronnie's house, and the grass was like 5 feet. Okay? He hadn't mowed the grass in God knows when. The grass was seriously 5 feet tall. The grass was taller than me, and I'm like 4'11", 4'10", 4'11". The grass was taller than me, okay? Like, it was tall. I'm walking through the grass, you can't even see me, really. He had this little path done out where, you could actually see somebody. So I was walking down a little path that was done out, but the rest of the grass was like outrageously tall. Well, we walked into the trailer, and my first impression of the trailer from the outside was, oh my God, this is a dump. But you can't always judge a book by its cover. I know one of my good friends that lives right down the road. Her house is ugly as crap on the outside, but when you go on the inside, it looks like a brand new house. I mean, seriously. And, so I go in the inside, and I'm like, whoa, I think I like the outside a little bit better, but I didn't say that out loud, because I didn't want to break anybody's heart. I'm just kind of like, it stunk in there, for one. You had to watch where you walked. If not, you would fall through the floor. he had boards laid down in certain parts of the house where there was like huge holes. Like if it was small holes, he didn't put boards down. And so you would almost break your ankle in some of the small holes. Because like when you walk, you could feel it, and the floor would like sink in, and you're like, oh God, I'm gonna fall. You know, but the bigger parts where there was like huge holes, he had boards laid down. He was so lazy, he would not fix the floor. There was no running water there. Like we would have to borrow water from the neighbor or from his aunt or something. Like he would go and pick up water and put it in like this 5-gallon like water cooler thingy, and we would use that to cook and to bathe with, and it was really gross, really gross. He didn't have a vehicle. He didn't have any of the stuff he told me he had. So pretty much he lied to me. He also cheated on me. I found that out while I was there, and I was there for a month. I usually don't do this, but something kind of told me that I needed to check to see who he was texting all the time. So when he wasn't looking, I grabbed his phone and went to, the contacts. I was looking, and I saw a lot of female names, but that really doesn't mean anything. I have a lot of guy names in my phone, but they're guy friends. They're not anything more. And so I go to his messages, and I see a message from a contact that says mama. I don't think you would talk to your mama the way he was talking to the contact named mama. So the contact said, had a great time with you the other night. Can't wait to have fun again. Can't wait for you to come back and spend the night with me and see what happens again. And then he says, oh yeah, baby, I really enjoyed it. I love you so much and can't wait to have you in my arms. And I was like, whoa, you really do not talk to your mother that way. So yeah, he cheated on me big time. His family didn't even know I was there. The only people that knew I was there was the lady that was living with him, and then he kicked her out for some really weird, stupid reason. He kicked her out. He moved this guy in, so the guy knew I was there, and then the neighbor right down the road knew I was there. His dad, his mom, his grandma, his aunt, all of them came to his house. And every time they came to his house, he walked outside. I mentioned to him, let me go outside. He said, no, stay in the house and do not say a word. And so what did I have to do? I sat there and watched TV. Could not talk. Could not do anything. He called his mama. I had to shut up or he would yell at me. Because he did not want anybody to know I was at his house. I was like a prisoner in this guy's house. When the first chance I had some money, I left. I walked out of his house. He grabs my bag that I had and tried yanking it out of my hand and told me I was not leaving. I said, yes, I am. He said, no, you're not, and yanks me back into the yard. I told him, since he was on probation, told him if he did not let me go, I was calling the cops. And I grabbed my phone out of my pocket. He let me go real quick. But yeah, anyway, he's a liar, he's a cheater, pretty much. And remember, ladies, that was Ronnie Smith. He does have a different last name. He put it on Facebook as Ronnie Smith so he could get on Facebook, because he's not supposed to be on Facebook because of his sexual probation towards minors. So yeah. Also, after I left Ronnie's house, I went to Spanky's, and I was at Spanky's house for about 3 weeks. Nobody knew I was at Spanky's house for a while. Finally, some of the people on the chat line heard me and him talking, because I wanted to prove to them that I was at his house. And so they heard it, and we all came up with this little idea that we were pretty much going to leave Spanky's line since, you know, he was a liar and he was a cheater and stuff like that. We were going to leave his line and we were going to go and follow me because I was going to open my own lineup, which I did. I opened my own lineup. It was called Looney Tunes Island. I'm sure some of you knew about it. You know, the girl in room 3, he was cheating on me with her. I was living with him, and he's phone boning her in the next room. Didn't think I knew, but I heard. You know, it was stuff like that, you know. And then after I left, he went and told people that I wasn't there, which he kept telling people I wasn't there whenever they knew that I was there. He kept telling them that, and then he would tell me to tell them, and so he was standing right there, and I had to say, no, I'm not at his house, even though I was, because he was like a violent person. Like, he would threaten to hit me. He threw things. He threatened to get his sisters over to kick my butt. You know, on that part, I actually told him, I said, if you want your sisters over here to kick my butt, please tell them to come on. I really want this to happen right now. But he never called them. Like, it was really funny. Like, every time he threatened his sisters, he never called them. You know, so I left his house because my friend Juliana, which you probably know her, she heard me and him get into an argument. And she told me that she was going to help me out to leave from his house. Well, of course, I turned it down because he just kind of said, well, aren't you going to stay with me? Aren't we going to work this out? Sure, why not? So I told her to keep her money, you know, and she said, all right. Because I was going to end up paying her back, you know. And then a good friend of mine helped me out. Of course, I had to tell a little lie to Spanky, because I knew if I was to tell Spanky that another guy helped me leave his house, or was helping me leave his house, then, yeah, he'd be a little furious. See, what I told Spanky was, I told him pretty much, I said, I'm leaving, but I'm coming back. He asked me would I leave my tablet with him. I said, no, I gotta take it back to my daddy. He keeps asking me, when am I bringing it back? Well, of course, he got mad and says, well, if you're really coming back, you'll leave your tablet. I said, I can't. So I made sure I had all my stuff packed up. Every bit of it. Packed up. And that next day, I go and I get into an argument with him. Not deliberately, you know, not intentionally or anything. I just get into an argument with him. He always started arguments with me, so it wasn't nothing unusual. We get into an argument. He tells me to walk to the bus stop. I says, I don't even know which way to go, which I didn't, you know, because he kind of did me the same way Ronnie did. He kept me locked up in his house like a prisoner. He didn't want anybody to know I was at his house. He didn't want anybody to know I was his girlfriend. You know, I mean, I have proof. I have my parents, my sisters, you know, Juliana. I have a lot of people. You know, not everybody that was on that line followed me. But a lot of them do know that I was at his house. But anyway, watch out for Spanky. Yeah, and for any of you that wanted to know, you know, what Spanky looks like, I'm pretty sure that Spanky has sent y'all a picture. And he probably told you that he looked like this really, and I mean really, attractive guy. He probably told you he had like a shoulder length hair, and he was standing next to a pretty white truck. I'm pretty sure a lot of you girls had got that picture. That guy looks pretty sexy in my opinion. Maybe you girls think the same thing. I know a lot of you did. Spanky was a sweet talker. Well, anyway, I get to his house and I'm trying to clean it up because it looks like a disaster. And just so you know, Spanky lives in Reno, Nevada, in a one-bedroom apartment. There's a total of 3 rooms in his house. The living room and the kitchen are connected as one. The bathroom is one, and then the bedroom is one. So yeah, that's all there was there. Let's see. I'm trying to think. He didn't live too far from the store. Me and him went over to the store and started shopping and a whole bunch of other stuff. But anyway, that's beside the point. He took and told me that that white truck was his, right? He didn't have a vehicle. Like, he was borrowing his neighbor's vehicle. Or his landlord's vehicle, excuse me. He was borrowing his landlord's vehicle, which was technically his neighbor. Because they lived in the apartment complex, too. And, he had picked me up from the bus stop, as well as took me to the bus stop with that. Let's see. I found out when I was cleaning his house up that, and I heard people calling him this when they went to his house, which I stayed in the bedroom while he was in the living room and stuff. So, but there was a couple people, and he would walk outside and talk to his company too, most of the time. And so I heard people calling him Ralph. They would say, "Ralph, I want my money. Ralph, can you come help me? Ralph, can you do this? Ralph, can you do that?" Every once in a while, I would hear them call him Michael. And so I'm like, Ralph, Michael. And so, next thing you know, I'm sitting there, I'm cleaning his house up, like I said, and I see some mail that says, Ralph Michael Brown. And it said that all over every piece of mail. Then I saw a piece of mail that had his mother's name on it, which at the moment I can't remember his mama's name. It was this weird name. I mean, it was a pretty name, but it was unusual, you know. And so, you know, Spanky went and said that he was like a certain age, okay? The age that Spanky told me, I think Spanky told me he was like 30, 31, somewhere in there. Spanky was like 40-ish, you know? And he has tattoos all over his body. He's short and fat. He's like maybe 5'1", somewhere in there. And he weighed probably about 280 pounds, I'd say. 200, 300 pounds. Yeah, somewhere in there. Anyway, he was a big guy. You know, short, fat, no hair. Anyway, you know, he pretty much lied to me about his name. He lied to me about his age. He cheated on me with several girls. But anyway, next guy was, let's see, the next guy, okay, was Taz, which I did not meet Taz on the party line. I actually met Taz at a Greyhound bus station right whenever I was leaving from Spanky's house, to be exact. I know it's kind of sad, but I met Taz there. You know, me and Taz start talking, we become friends, and then I break up with Spanky, and me and Taz start dating. Me and Taz was running the Looney Tune Island together for a little bit, and then I kind of broke up with him. Taz is really caught up in this fantasy world. That's all I'm going to say. And if you knew Taz, you know what I'm talking about. He always talked about how he had, you know, done this, or he was a wrestler, or blah, 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 blah. He said that he was Sin Cara off of wrestling. And, of course, to make him feel better, I kind of said, oh, yeah, you're Sin Cara. He said that his daddy was The Undertaker. Now, I'm not 100% sure about that. I did know that his family knew The Undertaker. So, yeah. his family knew a lot of the wrestlers. Now, I knew that he was not Sin Cara because Sin Cara would be on the TV wrestling, and he'd be sitting right beside me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that stupid. But I just kind of played along with his little thingy, you know. He wanted to be Sin Cara, let him be Sin Cara, you know. I wanted to be a princess. Look at me, I'm princess. Yay. Okay. But anyway, you know, that was a joke. I ended up breaking up with him because of his lies. And in my opinion, he let me read his Facebook. He gave me his password to his Facebook and everything. I went on his Facebook, you know, and he knew I was going on his Facebook. I told him before I went on his Facebook. I said, I'm going on your Facebook. Okay. He'd be talking to his ex-wife, Shorty, is what they called her. He'd be talking to her, telling her that he loves her, and he'd be pretending to be his daddy. You know, he'd say, oh no, this isn't Taz, it's dad, and blah 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 blah, and you know, she would believe it, which is kind of funny, you know. But he was talking about how much he loves her and he misses her and blah 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 blah, and I'm just kind of like, wow, you know. And one day they were over there talking, and I walked in the room, and I leaned over and was whispering in his ear, but I was glancing at the computer while I was whispering in his ear. I noticed that he told her to bite him, because his favorite word was bite me. So he's like, bite me. She said, where? He said, anywhere you want to. She said, how about down there in your private area? He said, okay, have fun. And then he put LOL. And then she said, oh yeah, and they started going back and forth on that. Well, I was like, really? And I just walked out of the room. I didn't say anything to him at that time, but he knew that I saw it. And he went and told me that he was joking, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I ended up breaking up with him because I had it up to here pretty much with his crap. And let's see, after Taz, I started talking to Texas from Texas. You people may know him on Facebook. Let's see, Bubba James. I don't know his last name. Snyder, I think. Bubba James, anyway. Now, I didn't date him, but maybe like a week. All I know is that when I dated him, he was the sweetest guy ever. You know, I have heard some stories from people about, you know, what they said, but in my opinion, I thought he was really nice, really sweet, and if any of you girls want to talk to him, look him up on Facebook. Yeah. There's not too much I can say about him because I don't know too much. All I know is that when I talked to him, you know, on the phone, not on the chat line, on the phone, I talked to him. I know that he really loves his family and that he's a family person. He'll do anything for his family, pretty much. I ended up breaking up with Texas to go out with one of Texas's friends on the chat line that he invited over to my line. It was not expected, you know, I was really not expecting to break up with Texas. I thought Texas was a sweet guy, but we did this little auction thing on the line that I used to have, which is Looney Tunes Island. I don't own the line anymore, so yeah. But we did this auction every Friday at like 8:30 Eastern time. Well, Lollipop, which is a girl that came on my line, I considered her as a sister. She took and put John, which is my boyfriend, up for auction. Well, of course, I didn't know much about John. All I know is he came on my line. He seemed like a really nice person, and he was really quiet. I knew that he didn't live too far from me and everything. So, I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about him, but I didn't want to get Texas mad at me. So I kind of liked him a little bit because he was mysterious, but I liked him as a friend, nothing else at that point in time. Well, I go and I put a bid up for him, then Lollipop puts a bid, then I put a bid, then she puts a bid. I stopped. I was going to let her have him. And then she goes and makes a comment and said that's all he's worth. Well, then I laughed because I didn't know who it was, and I said, okay, and I bid again. When I did, Lollipop goes, you can have him. I was like, really? And so I had won John that night. Like, it was like a little auction thing, Basically, during the auction, the rules that I had set up, as well as a co-owner that used to be on my line, which, as far as I know, he really doesn't call lines anymore. His name's Spike. Me and Spike had come up with the rules that if you bidded on a person and you won them, you had to talk to them for a minimum of 2 hours. And when you talk to them, you could not talk about anything sexual. It had to be a conversation where you got to know the person and everything. Because we were trying to hook people up. We were trying to get people dating each other, if you know what I mean. Because I have people coming up to me all the time, and I still do have people coming up to me. Tell me, can you find me a boyfriend? Can you find me a girlfriend? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I'll just come up with this. So I did. And so that evening, I told John, I said, well, since, I won you, pretty much, you want to go talk in a different room. Because that was one of the rules. You had to be private, one-on-one talking. And so he said, yeah. And so I told him, I said, meet me in such and such room, which I really don't remember what room we went in. But we went into a different room, and I locked the door down so nobody couldn't go in there and bother us. Well, me and him were sitting in there talking, and 2 hours flew by in no time. We got lost in time or something. Well, he said I did most of the talking, but he did talk, and he told me how much he liked me, and that the reason why he came on my line is because he loved my voice and he loved my personality and he wanted to get to know me better. He just was too scared to say anything because he didn't want to make Texas mad. And I said, oh, you like me, really? And I told him straight up, I said, well, I always thought you were a quiet person. I never really knew you until now. Because I was starting to find out any and everything I possibly could about him. So I'd ask him his name, his age, blah, 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 blah. So he's over there, he's telling me his name, his age, where he's from. And he lived like 5 hours from me. Well, me and him came up with a conclusion. We exchanged numbers. I told him not to tell Texas because I didn't want to make Texas jealous, So I told him not to tell Texas that I gave him my number. He said, okay. Well, then, next thing you know, I go and me and him's texting back and forth with each other. He's like, I would love to have you as my girlfriend and everything. I was like, whoa. And so I go and I tell Texas, yo, Texas, I found somebody that lives a little bit closer. I hope we can still be friends. And Texas was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who you're going to start dating. And so Texas knew automatically I was going to start dating John. And so me and John started dating about 2 months after me and him was talking on the phone. We decided to meet each other. And so I went to South Carolina, and he drove a couple hours from where he lived to go see me, and I saw him, and it was really nice. He had his roommate with him. And we just sat there and we had a good day. We spent the whole day together. It was amazing. Um, it was like nothing in the world mattered. It was like time had stopped again. I mean, seriously, it was like nothing else was there. Nobody else was around us. Um, but we had a good time. Then, like a week after we met the first time, we met again, and we're living together now. So, yay! But that's what I wanted to tell y'all. Love y'all. Bye.